Man, I'm tired of this shit.
Dude, I was listening to that. Leave it alone.
This is absolute trash.
I don't care. Driver picks the station. Shotgun shuts his cake hole.
Passenger gets first dibs on everything. I have my finger on the button.
You know what? You want to fight about it?
Yeah.
Okay,
fuck
fine.
you.
Hey,
Fuck you.
leave it alone.
No.
Mine's mine.
Turn your trash off. Now look what you did.
2 hours later.
And it's another fun-filled day. But not for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Bob.
I'm not Bob.
I am Bob.
Okay, so hi, welcome to the Distant Harmonics podcast. That's Bob.
I'm Bob.
And I am not Bob.
And
I am so Josh.
And I'm going to be speaking this low and monotone the whole time, so get over it.
Well, he's not going to be any fun today. So,
no.
Frasier's back. As you can tell,
Again.
he's not an excitable other person we have here.
No, don't make me explain why either.
No, I wasn't going to make you explain, except for the fact
I'm old.
I was going to just try and make up some random story about why you don't seem all that fun today, but
I'll tell you the quick reason. I'm old, I'm tired, I'm cranky, I'm fighting being sick, and I just got done over the past 2 days moving my parents to Idaho, 9 hours away from where I live. And Friday alone, I got up at 6 in the morning, drove to
this
Idaho
isn't very
after
short.
loading a U-Haul, and didn't get done with unloading said U-Haul in Idaho in 20-degree weather until 10 o'clock at night.
I moved 2,000 miles away in the heat of summer.
I would prefer that. And especially when it's like, you also need to understand, my parents had the biggest U-Haul imaginable, plus a U-Haul trailer, and they still didn't get all their stuff in.
Oof.
Yeah, we had a gun safe, 2 massive refrigerators, the biggest chest freezer I've ever seen, and then the rest of their furniture and belongings and stuff.
Hell yeah. Sucks to be you.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
All right, so we've got another fun-filled episode of wackadoo bullshit to talk about in the music world, the music industry, and our topic for today.
You know what would make me a lot happier?
If gas was under $2.
That would be awesome too. But also, like, right now, just seeing, I might just YouTube it while we're talking, just so I can giggle a little bit. Just the video of watching grunts when you shoot them in Halo with that one skull on that makes them all go, that makes their head turn into confetti, and they go, yeah!
That's the happy birthday one. It's a happy birthday skull.
I know, I love it. I love it so much.
Have you seen those?
It makes Halo so much more.
You see those videos that people are doing now where, like, they superimpose all the ragdoll physics from Halo, and like they have them just doing random shit, like Halo or like Master Chief like rides in on a wheelchair and just says something completely ridiculous and then just like flies away.
No, I'm gonna Google that though.
I'm gonna start sending you them. They're so goddamn funny. Like you have like Master Chief like flies in on a wheelchair, like spinning around like when you blow up a warhog and it like careens across the map.
Yeah,
he'll like flop in and be like, "Hey, just remember, you're a cute little pickle," and then like it'll like fly off like a flying ramp and like right into a scarab, just shoots it out of midair and just blows him across the map.
I need to see this.
God damn
anyway,
it, they're so fucking funny. All right,
quick, we need to hit the ejection button on the ADHD lever.
Well, hey, guess what? 1/5 of the Black Parade is actually officially dead now.
Wow, you had to make the joke.
I'm going to make the joke because I have no sympathy for anybody anywhere except for myself. So, it was revealed I think it was last week, but I know we just really got deep into it this weekend, that Bob Bryar, not the original, but the most well-known drummer for My Chemical Romance, had passed away and
having the longest tenure in the band.
Well, it doesn't help that literally right after that they pretty much broke up.
No, he joined at the very end of 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge.
2004.
Just after they had recorded 3 Cheers, and then he was on the album for
Black Parade,
and then he did the Fabulous Killjoys, and then he left. I'm pretty sure.
Was he on Fabulous Killjoys?
Well, Black Parade came out in 2006. Hold on, quick Google search.
Killjoys, I think, came out.
After a quick Google search.
Killjoys came out in 2010, I think. But I know that he wasn't in the videos or anything because he had left by that point or was asked to leave. Anyways, well, Frasier
Why
researches
is
it
it when I Google the True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys, what comes up is the freaking comic book?
because that's the better version of that album.
Accurate.
Oh, that album was not good. Anyways,
No. There
so
was one song that I actually got that I actually was somewhat into, and that's only because no, it came out in 2010. So he recorded that album. He probably wasn't there to stay, but he probably he recorded that album.
recorded it, but he was asked to leave in 2010. So I think it was right after they had come out that album.
Why did he originally leave? Does anybody know?
So it's not officially stated. All Frank Iero really said about it was that it was a like it was a quote, painful but necessary action to remove him from the band. And
Right.
later in like 2015, he had a social media post that he deleted talking about that once he was fired from My Chemical Romance, that he became like angry and suicidal and everything like that. So,
Right.
but apparently he also had a lot of he became kind of an internet troll after he quote unquote whatever you want to say about leaving My Chemical Romance. I started isolating himself, really started kind of having more of a social media presence than a physical presence. Wasn't really doing shows after that. It sounds like
sounds like he may have either had like some really bad mental health issues or drugs.
Well, he talked about he was very open about his mental health problems, and he had been on medication for that and like really advocated for therapy and medication for mental health issues. Did a lot of really good work for fundraising for like animal shelters and things like that. So like the guy's got like a good side to him, but now that he is dead, it's kind of getting brought out for the open, being like, oh yeah, by the way, here's like all of the transphobic comments that he made on social media. Here's his MAGA support that he had on social media.
Well, yeah, but it's the point. The big point is that he was an advocate for mental health because he obviously had issues. Just for reference, technically Bob Bryar is not officially listed as a drummer on the Fabulous Killjoys, but it does say that he wrote or helped write songs 2, 3, 6, 8, and 9. I don't know which tracks those are named. I don't care either. So obviously he did a lot of work on this album to some degree.
It probably was that
and no one else. It says John Myceli was drums and percussion as additional, but no official drummers actually listed and all that fun stuff. So I'm pretty sure he did quite a bit of work on the album, even if he wasn't there to finish it.
I might have that album somewhere. I could dig it up and see, because I know that I have Black Parade and Three Cheers.
Right.
But regardless,
anyway, yes.
So he passed away at age 44, and actually he passed away. He lived out here in Tennessee.
Right. That's what I was saying. He was out by you.
Yeah. I don't know where at. I don't really care to know. But so with all this going on, what apparently had happened was Animal Control was actually going out to his house to collect his dogs when they found his decomposed body on November 4th. So it kind of seems like it may have been a while. I mean, can speculate all we want about what actually happened. They said there's no foul play involved, but they're still doing, an autopsy and examining what's going on. And there's no results posted for that yet. There probably never will be. It's not for us to know. But yeah, I mean, it seems like he was, from what I've read, it seems like he was really like genuine with the fans for My Chemical Romance and like really appreciated the fan base behind his time in the band. But it just seems like the more you isolate with mental health issues, just the more it can exacerbate it.
Yep.
So
agreed.
So if he was doing that, and I know that he'd worked with My Chemical Romance, he had worked with Thrice, I think before My Chemical Romance. So like he was kind of in that scene for, a while. So I mean, a lot of people obviously knew of him. So it's unfortunate. Doesn't matter your political views or anything like that, Still a musician that still tragically passed away.
Yep. And was part of one of the biggest albums of the emo, probably the biggest albums of the emo scene.
Oh, 100%. Black Parade fucking burned up the whole music scene when it came out.
Yeah. So the next we have, I think we'll hit Sepultura.
Sepultura sucks.
Because you are such a Sepultura fan.
I'm a Sepultura
The
purist.
original. I say the OG Sepultura.
Yeah, I don't attribute Derek Green Sepultura as Sepultura. I just more attribute it to just being like a metal collective.
Right.
But I take those albums for what they are. But classic Sepultura is Max Cavalera on vocals and guitar, and there's nothing that you can do to change my mind about that. But so we talked a few weeks ago reviewing Cavalera Conspiracy's re-recording of Schizophrenia, which was the, I think, second album that Sepultura had put out with Max Cavalera on vocals. Mm-hmm. There was a big debate on whether or not that this was really needed, considering Cavalera Conspiracy was re-recording the first two albums and the first EP from Sepultura and just kind of giving it a polish, getting a re-recording and getting it, more raw, more aggressive than they could at the time. And meanwhile, on the Sepultura front, Sepultura's on their farewell tour, which has seemed to last almost as long as Kiss's farewell tour did. And Andreas Kisser, the guitar player, was, I believe, was also a founding member with Sepultura with Max, and is still in Sepultura. He was going on stating that he really wanted the Cavalera brothers to come out for like the very, very, very final shows, and just trying to give the fans a little treat, a nice send off of having, the original lineup pretty much all back together. To which Max Cavalera very politely and very regrettably said, no. My wife said I can't go.
Right.
So we're fast forwarding now to Schizophrenia's been out for a few months. We did a review on that one. Now that Max Cavalera has said that they're not going to do those shows with Sepultura, now Andreas Kisser has now come back and said that he has his problems with them re-recording those two Sepultura albums, just any Sepultura albums in general, but mostly just because of those two that have come out. And at first, like reading the articles about it, like at first was like, oh, he's just kind of, talking about, oh, well, whatever makes them happy kind of thing. But he very quickly in the same interview with, this was Impact Metal, talking about that there is, quote, no artistic value in re-recording these, and that they're probably just maybe going for money with the recordings and the re-releases, and that if they're having a good time, so let it be. I just think it's totally unnecessary. It's really very disrespectful from themselves on their past selves.
First off, I can agree that yes, there's probably no artistic anything to this, and that it is about money, but they're re-recording it so that all the rights of these songs are theirs.
Right.
Leave them alone. They're their songs anyway. They're just making it so the record company doesn't have ownership of them. So just calm down.
Well, I mean, they're going to be on, Sepultura's on the out and out anyway, so. But they're also still recording new music. Because apparently Andreas Kisser in the same interviews was talking about how Sepultura is coming out with some new tracks with their new drummer, as we know, Aloy Casagrande Supreme, whatever. Left Sepultura right as they're embarking on their farewell tour to go join Slipknot.
Right.
So obviously they had to pick up a new drummer, and they're now saying that they're recording new music with that drummer. Not enough for an album, but they are recording new music to put out with this farewell tour. That's going to be now a live CD, like 40 cities and 40 songs in 40 cities. And then it sounds like they're going to be putting some new recorded tracks on that album as well.
Right.
I just think that Andreas Kisser is just being a big baby.
He is. Speaking of big babies, and I'm not going to say that like to be mean. I'm kind of joking. So I think this is kind of like a valid thing to bring up, but it's also kind of not. But it's also, I have opinions. Courtney LaPlante from Spirit Boxes put out a statement saying that she's kind of hoping that now, and I think this is kind of legit, but with the rise of especially female-led metal bands lately, that women can maybe get a Grammy for lead singer or performance. I didn't honestly read the article the whole way. I have a slight squinty eye when it comes to Courtney and Spirit Box, just because of the whole dropping off Rodney Radke's tour after their fans basically bullied them into it. But I do think she has a point to a degree that if this is the point she's making, that now we do have the rise of, although I don't like her, Poppy. You do have Ginger. You do have Spirit Box, which is a phenomenal band. You can't deny that.
There is also talks
think,
of I Wrestle a Bear Once now possibly coming back with their original vocalist, and that would be a huge thing for the women fronted metal scene.
right, and I think I think it's awesome. I think it's cool that, especially because now, like, it feels like, because I felt like in the old, like with the scene 10, 20 years ago,
You were gonna say in the olden days.
Metal, the female metal vocalists that were out kind of all sounded the same, and now they do kind of have, each one kind of has their own stamp and style,
Right.
so there's a good way to differentiate between them. So I'm kind of it would be cool to see what could happen there, especially now that there's, like I said, more female metal vocalists booming onto the scene and actually becoming really popular, like, and doing well, and rightfully so are they becoming popular.
Well, it was like 10, 15 years ago. It seemed more of like almost like a niche to kind of say like, oh, this metal band does have a female vocalist, and
Right.
you get kind of pigeonholed into that whole like, yeah, you're a metal band, but you're on this offshoot. You're on the sidewalk of the building of metal music. Like, oh yeah, you are a metal band, but you're one of the female fronted metal bands, kind of thing.
Right.
Like, I really think that like Angela from Arch Enemy should have definitely gotten way more recognition than she ever did, because she was a fucking beast live. She was a beast business person on top of all that. Like, she's the business manager still of Arch Enemy. Like, she gave up the vocals to do the business management side of it. So, like, nobody talks about the fact that she also does all that stuff on top of it. Alyssa can just go, Tweety Bird fly away. Because I don't like Alyssa in Arch Enemy. She ruined that band. She doesn't get awards. But, like, Agoraphobic Nosebleed, I believe, also has a female vocalist that you're not going to ever hear about. So it's one of those things, like, metal's in a good place now, especially, like, the last 5-6 years. It's just gotten more and more prominent as, being I don't want to say quote unquote a legit genre, but it's getting more to the point where we're able to put more elements into it that gets it more into the mainstream. And
Right.
the woman fronted metal bands can also now thrive more than anything, because now we're progressing so much in the metal community. Now we can actually be like, this isn't a subgenre of metal to have a female vocalist. Like, Nightwish was not like a subgenre of music just because they had a woman vocalist.
Right.
And should never really be considered that. Ginger, I'm not so sure about. I don't really listen to Ginger all that much.
Ooh, you should.
Isn't she, like, I thought she was with somebody from Suicide Silence.
I don't know.
Well, that's enough for me not to like them. Anyways. All right. Did you have anything else before we hit the header into our topic? I feel like you had more.
Oh, no. Yeah, one more thing. So for those of you that might be wondering, we are not going to cover any more Azalea dying news. For those of you that want to go find out what's going on, you can kind of go look yourself. The reason for that is because...
this is becoming a legal matter for Tim Lambesis.
Yeah, this is becoming a giant, like, domestic violence legal matter issue. And that's not something we need to cover. That's not music news. And on top of all that, it seems distasteful. And on top of it, at this point, it actually goes into the level of possibly being slander for what we talk about. So at this point, we're going to drop the Tim Lambesis thing, watch how it plays out. We might talk about it when everything is concluded and all that fun stuff.
Most there's actual sustainable facts that we can report about.
Right. But also at this point, the other big thing is we don't need to report on it. Everyone is watching that thing like a hawk. It's not like we're going to... Like the Limp Bizkit $200 million lawsuit thing. That's something people should know about that I think a lot of people missed or aren't talking about or are discarding. Everyone's talking about Tim Lambesis and what's going on with the band and now his home life. So I don't think we really need to cover that because other people are going to get the update before we even talk about it anyway. So it's a kind of a pointless thing. We don't need to give our opinion on it anymore.
That being said, we will be reviewing the new As Lay Dying album today.
We did plan on reviewing the album.
Before all this started coming up.
The band. Yeah, despite the drama surrounding the band, I originally texted Josh and said, I'll bet you this has to do with money and royalties. Now, as things have progressed, obviously it doesn't, but we are still going to at least review it and give our review on it. But it's just going to be at face value of the record. We're going to try to keep our opinions out of it. It did come out. It is a big deal. So I think it's worth at least discussing the art. You can choose whether or not you listen to it. That is totally your thing. We chose to listen to it 1 or 2 times through to give our opinions on it and see if the music had grown at all. If you don't want to support Tim, totally understand and totally get that. You don't have to. We're not saying to go out and buy the album on physical copy and stream it all day long. We're just going to say what we think about it. And that's it. So, on to the last bit of news, and we are going to kind of part and parcel this together to work into the topic.
Yes, exactly what he just said. Phil Bozeman of Whitechapel put out a video, I believe it was last week. My days are all messed up. I've been off for 4 days of work, so my brain's not working. So, Whitechapel had 7 shows planned in the South America region. Let's see, we got Mexico, Costa Rica, Colombia, Chile, Brazil, and Argentina. That was my best I could do. They've canceled these shows. They were going on a tour with Thy Art Is Murder, and I can't remember the other bands, but I know that they are supposed to be headlining the shows. Phil Bozeman put out a video last week discussing the fact that he will not be attending these 7 shows, this mini tour that they have planned out there. So by definition, Whitechapel is also not performing that. Thy Art Is Murder will be taking the headlining spot for them. And he is citing that he's been having a lot of mental health issues since the Garza podcast. He really went in depth with this one. I don't know if you listened to that one where he talked to Phil Bozeman, talking about his antidepressants, and yeah.
Yep. Now, are you talking about, is that the one-on-one with Phil or the one where him and the guitarist were sitting there hanging out talking?
Him and the guitar player is the most recent one with Whitechapel.
Yep, I saw it.
So he had talked about on that one that he had been on antidepressants since he was a teenager. If we want to talk about what the shit that Phil Bozeman has been through, that's a whole entire episode to itself. That's something that you guys are going to need to go into. But long story short, he's lost both of his parents at a young age and was, a very highly troubled and depressed teenager from what he has stated in interviews, and was on antidepressants for a long, long time. Well, around the time that around this war came out, he was trying to quit his antidepressants cold turkey, which if you have talked with anybody that has these antidepressants and they try and quit them cold turkey, like, your body can't just stop it 100% right from the get-go. It's
the only two things that you cannot quit cold turkey, or it will kill you. Like, this is not a joke. This is a medical fact. Are alcohol and benzos.
Yes.
Benzodiazepines, which antidepressants are in that category.
Yes. So he had pointed out, and I actually had to go look it up, but like, he had gotten really sick. He'd gotten really thin. Like, I went back and looked at the promo shots from the This War, and oh my God, did he look terrible.
Right.
So he had kind of gotten back onto it. So now he is, he's actually medically weaning off of his medications. He's actually doing it in a slow burn and, working with his doctors to kind of get off of them again, but not cold turkey, and doing it, the right legitimate way. But he had said
for people that are just wondering, that want to check me on that, benzodiazepines are like your Xanax, your Valium, your Klonopin.
Klonopin.
They are the antidepressant. Yeah. So just for everybody's information, just so people know.
Frasier's not a doctor, though. He plays one on TV.
I play one on TV. That's right.
So he's stated that he's pulling off of these, but it's kind of revealing to him a few other problems that he's been noticing. So he's saying, for his own sake, his girlfriend or fiance, I'm not sure what he's got sake, and like his family's sake, and the sake of basically the fans of Whitechapel, that it's in his best interest to pull off of this tour while he kind of reevaluates and reestablishes what's going on with him mentally.
Yeah, when you've been on drugs like that your whole life, essentially, for 30 years, 20, 30 years, your whole mind is being rewired when you come off of them. Like, you are literally turning into a new person. So,
Yeah,
this is a big deal, and while his brain chemically recalibrates, he definitely probably should take some time out.
yeah, because being on tour and just the music industry is like it's the music industry itself is just it's violent on mental health.
Yep.
So
Let
that
alone isolating, like just the basics of sleep depravity, crap food. You're living on a bus in cramped quarters. You're pretty much isolated, other than the 4 people you're stuck living with, in cramped quarters with crap food and sleep depravity.
but expected to be
Like
performing at your physical and mental best as much as you can.
the ability to get drugs, crazy women and people in the audience and fans, everything out there is just an assault on your mental health and everything if you don't watch it.
Yeah. So I think it's good.
And obviously with that, I mean, we're going to move into the topic of talking about mental health again.
Mental health
in the
part
music
2,
industry.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yes. Because not only did that, but I also brought this up to Josh. I don't know if everybody remembers this, but I want to say about a year ago, Noah Sebastian from Bad Omens, the primary songwriter, singer, guitarist, also kind of pulled the same thing and said, look, we have a giant, I think it was European dates though at the time.
I think so.
And he was like, look, we are not doing this tour. I'm canceling it right now. This, and this. Because it was, and here's the other thing to Noah's credit. At the time, The Death of Peace of Mind had come out, which is the biggest album of the year at the time, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
They had been touring nonstop every day on that frickin' album, and they still were. And just burnout, I'm sure, in his case, was more burnout than anything, because they were just grinding on that album, just making hand over fist every night, sold out shows. And he had to do the same thing. He's like, I am shot. I need to go home. I need to unwind because my brain is done. So, there's a difference between canceling a show because things didn't go the way you wanted them to, or because the venue canceled or whatever, and saying, hey, look, I need a break, especially in the music industry when you're on the road. People have built up this idea that the rock star lifestyle is easy. It's not. You're going to bed at 4 a.m, getting on a bus, trying to sleep on a bus while it's moving at 60 miles an hour to the next show, or on a plane. I know people that just cannot sleep on planes, let alone be able to get good sleep on planes or on buses.
Well, yeah, then that's where I feel like the drugs and the alcohol start really coming into play. Because then
Right.
at that point, it's like I've gotten 3 hours of sleep. I'm expected to be on my top of my A game, playing these shows, being a human being for other human beings.
Right.
And yeah, no, like it's bad. Like it is worse than, like you said, it's worse than I feel like a lot of people either think about or even want to give credit to.
Right. I mean, well, and put it this way. The average person that I know of already takes drugs to wake up. We just call it caffeine, and it's acceptable in America or anywhere, really. The other thing is that then we take melatonin or NyQuil or, well, magnesium's a good one for you. That's not bad for you. But most of us that I know, most of the people I know, take something, alcohol, whatever it is, weed, to go to sleep. So even on a normal day-to-day basis, the average human I know takes something to wake up and takes something to fall asleep, let alone when you're out on the road and can get anything you can get your hands on, and there's drugs everywhere if you want them.
Yeah, you can't show up to your show like, the old lady in the, in her robe holding a cup of coffee and just sitting there saying, all right, here's another one. All right, let's get this going kind of thing. Unless you're Aaron Lewis, that's kind of his whole personality.
Right.
But no, like Frasier and I know this to a degree. We're both musicians. We both have to deal with sometimes the weird hours and just the mental strain and the mental load on it is something that I don't think people grasp going into the music industry. And the music industry, we've talked about it before. The music industry doesn't give a fuck about you.
Nope.
Like, it does not care. It's a money-making machine.
Let me give an example for anybody that does regular work. Now, first off, I understand that what I'm going to say is a little outlandish because of my hours and my job.
I already hate it.
I wake up at 4:30 in the morning every day to go to my job. I get off at 2:30 in the afternoon. Okay? Most people work their 9 to 5 or whatever. Imagine, just fit yourself in that category. 2 weeks ago, I was given a show to play. And they're like, hey, it's going to be a later show. Do you want to try it out? Yeah, sure, whatever. Let's do this. Well, it was 9:30 to midnight.
Ouch.
Okay. So I took it. I was like, yeah, sure. Okay, you know what? We'll give it a shot. So I wake up at 4:30, do my normal day, come home, don't get any sleep because I'm excited for the show, play from 9:30 to midnight, get off work, or get off playing the show, go to work at 4:30 again the next day. Then, the next night, I also have to go work at the bar. So I get home, I'm able to sleep. I'm working from 8:30 to 1 a.m. again. And then I get to sleep the next day. That's a musician's life. You're getting up, you're traveling, you're on the road. You go out to play for an hour or two. Well, actually, you have to be up for at least 6 to 8 hours because you have to load, unload, do sound check, then wait for all the opening bands to play, then you get to play. And there's typically like 2 hours of time between the opening bands and you. So you're up for 6, 7 hours a day, at least, if not 8, like a normal human being doing things. That's if you slept all night. So, even for an average guy that has an average job that does it on the side, I get my ass handed to me sleep-wise because of just like you were saying, I'm piggybacking off of the music industry has crazy hours, and it does. And that's the other thing. Sometimes you show up at a venue, they're like, hey, you're playing at 7:30 tonight. Cool, we'll be done by 9:30 and on the road. Other venues, hey, by the way, there's no noise ordinance here. You're playing at midnight and go until 2 a.m.
How about no?
Yeah. Well, but you can't say no. That's your job.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Don't play that show, you don't get paid.
Exactly.
That's what Josh is saying with the weird hours. Every day, literally every day on the road is different. Literally every single day.
Yeah, it's like, another example. So the band I'm in, I gotten the offer, and I put it out there that I wanted to do it. So I'm working with this new band, and the first show is in December. It's a festival show. It's 6.5 hours away. 10 bands on the bill. And it's like, my life already. I get up at 5. I go to work until 3:15. I come home. I take a shower. I go down the bus stop, pick up one kid, come home, make dinner. Monday and Tuesday, I go to school. So I got to turn around and leave again to go to school till 8:30 at night, get back home. Another hour, go to bed. That's just the Monday, Tuesday schedule. Now trying to factor in time to practice. Trying to make time to sit down and say, I've got to learn these songs. Trying my best, but then there's days where it's like I practice one day, I got to go 3 days without practicing, but I'm still, looking over all the music stuff, trying to memorize it, just looking at it. To the point where today I have to sit down and I have to text the guitar player and say, dude, I'm really sorry. Like, I know the bass tracks are pre-recorded. You can play them over the PA, but like, I can't do it in December. Like, family, wife and 2 kids, holidays, work on top of it, schooling. It's like, I have the best intentions. We have another show in January. We're playing in Memphis. Like, that's the one that, like, I'm 100%, like, I'm down. It's on a Friday night. It's in my backyard. I can hit that easy. It's just right now is like you try and maintain a normal life with your music. Sometimes it flushes, sometimes it doesn't. And thankfully they understood. They're like, we're just jazzed to have you as part of the band. As a bass player, we're just jazzed to have that. It's okay. We get it. When you're doing shows and doing a whole tour, of 30, 40 shows, you don't get that luxury. You don't get to just call out and say, you know what?
Right.
I just can't do it unless like you're dying of laryngitis as the singer or like you broke your fingers trying to play guitar. Then
right. Well, and also when you're sick, you play. Like for the most part, if you're sick, you're on stage.
Yeah, you do the very best that you can. And it burns people out. Just mentally, it burns people out. And we had brought it up before, but being like if you're a full-time musician, it's not like a regular job, 9 to 5 job for everybody that they can do. You don't get health insurance with a band unless you're a big band, but you're still paying your own health insurance because it's not like you're signing up and doing a 401k, health insurance, life insurance and bennies like that. Like you're still paying for this stuff out of pocket. And a lot of these younger bands and even up into these older bands that aren't, superstar status, they're going to forego this because they need and want to maximize their profit coming in to themselves to pay themselves first.
Right.
And like just statistically speaking, over 70% of independent musicians struggle with mental health issues like anxiety and depression. And, this music scene, those 70%, that music scene is exacerbating those 70%. That other 30% can develop these mental health issues just from now living this lifestyle.
Right.
And I don't think it's right.
Well, there's only so much you can do about that. Touring is touring, being on the road. The best we can do, well, not to say the best we can do, but we can help mitigate the disaster, if that makes sense. Because again, piggybacking off what you already said, most musicians, the artistics, are already a little unstable in terms of, and that's not like a bad put down or anything like that, but it's true. Most artists, musicians, things like that typically have mental health issues to some degree or another. It's why we choose art, because it's our medium to get our therapy out.
Right.
And then, like you said, when you're on the road, you're that only gets worse because of the isolation, I would say, more so than anything, and sleep depravity. So, you can't really fix the touring model. There's no way to change it. Like you have to go from city to city to city. That's never going to change.
It is what you sign up for at that point.
Right. But we can help understand and be understanding and be gracious. Like I think a lot of people have with Noah and with, oh my word, Phil. I totally blanked on his name. I wanted to say Rob, and I was like, I don't know why I want to call him Rob. But being gracious when people are like, hey, we're taking some time off. The best thing isn't to just jump on them and start beating them over the head with a shovel, which I think the metal community and all that has done a really good job of being gracious in those times. But
no, and doing more research into it, there's now even since the last time we talked about this, there's even more programs that have popped up that work with musicians and people from within the music industry to provide essentially those benefits to those musicians that are kind of suffering from that. Like I got 4 listed here that are all really, really good. Like especially this first one, it's called Music Industry Therapist Collective. What they do is it was founded by a former venue and festival programmer that's also a psychotherapist named Tamsin Embleton. And that business, that group on themselves work with private practices and treatment centers, but also each therapist they have has their own unique music industry experience and psychotherapy specialists on top of that, or specialisms. So these are people that have worked as musicians, have worked within the music industry as a whole, also being psychotherapists. So they're more geared towards musicians that these bands can now reach out to, work with, and do what they can to kind of get their heads straight when they're having, their bad days or their bad months or bad however longs. Another really good one was Silence the Shame, and it's a nonprofit organization that focuses on education and awareness of mental health in the music industry. But they also offer reoccurring community conversations, mental health first aid trainings, volunteer opportunities, and fundraisers. We also have Sweet Relief Musicians Fund, which is strictly providing financial assistance to all types of career musicians that are struggling to make ends meet while facing illnesses, disabilities, or age-related problems. And that was the first one I really noticed that says age-related problems, because that's another thing that people I don't think about, is that as these musicians start getting older, physically now they're not able to perform up to what they could back, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And that takes a toll mentally too. Like I'm sure to a degree, Eddie Vedder's probably happy he doesn't jump from the rafters anymore, because at this point it might just kill him. I went out to dinner last night at this music venue themed restaurant, and they're playing like Pearl Jam videos and showing the footage from Eddie Vedder in his 20s and climbing up all the scaffolding. Like, God, if he did that now, dude, that would be the last show he ever played.
Right.
But there's also Music Health Alliance, and that one is strictly actually providing access to healthcare through medical services. So that's one that actually band members can reach out to be able to find these kinds of coverages to kind of help them through all these times. So if I'm able to, I'll link their websites into the either show notes or the YouTube upload that
we can put them in a comment, or we can put them in we can put them in the description of the YouTube, and we can also put them in the description of the episode.
Yeah, so they're good resources. They're, like I said, they're 4 new ones that I found since the last episode we talked about this, and I think it still needs to be an open conversation, an open discussion, still going forward and kind of revisiting this as more people start listening in on our stupid bullshit that we talk about. Because
we don't talk about stupid bullshit.
Yeah, we do. We're talking about Linkin Park.
Actually, I want to hit As It Lay Dying first so that we can eviscerate the album that was known as Linkin Park.
I don't want to talk about...
we're not going to like it, but we're going to do it.
I don't really want to talk about either of them, actually.
I know. Let's rip off the Band-Aid with As It Lay Dying, get it over with, and then we can just rant on Linkin Park.
Okay, but to finish off our mental health section, this will be a reoccurring theme probably in every season. And I don't know about Frasier over there, but I mean, we're good resources to talk to some degree. I don't know. I don't have.
If you want your mental health destroyed, yes.
If you want a validation that you're not absolutely losing your goddamn mind, we're good ones to talk to. I don't know about Frasier.
You're losing your mind.
Can't lose what I never had.
Uh-huh.
My straitjacket don't fit no more. I got fat. All that good Southern food. Anyways, now
speaking of,
let's round up those albums and let's get on moseying on out of here. So
speaking of straitjackets that don't fit, I put on a pair of black jeans last night that I've had that my wife bought me years ago, like 2 years ago. And they pretty much don't fit anymore. They're pretty much skinny jeans because of weightlifting. My quads are so damn big. They physically fit me like skinny jeans now. I can't get my phone in and out of the fucking pocket. I'm pissed.
That's
anyway,
why I just wear blue jeans and a black hoodie, dude. I'm the most basic fucking metal person on the face of the earth.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. Normal jeans don't fit me anymore because my quads are too big, and so are my glutes. Like the waist is super thin. I can pull the waist away from my waist, but the glutes are like shrink wrapped on me.
Well, that sounds like a personal problem, buddy.
It is. I actually might have to start buying like custom like barbell apparel, $200 jeans. It pisses me off. Anywho,
Men's Warehouse.
As I Lay Dying, we can just give a quick one over on this one. I thought the album was really good. I thought it was a step up for sure in the musical direction.
That's the really shitty thing about this album, is that of all the stuff that's going on, all the controversy with the band members leaving and everything, like, I don't like As I Lay Dying's kind of comeback all that much. I feel like it's kind of sounding more generic in a way, but it's a surprisingly solid album. So this album is called Three Storms Ahead, which irony. Today,
Right.
today class, we're going to talk about the term foreshadow. No, like these members of that he has pulled together for this album specifically, like they're all on their fucking A game, which is really disappointing to really have it. I hate to bring it up, but it was like Dissection's last album. Dissection's last album was such a solid album for Dissection, and then we're gonna do an episode on this someday. The lead singer ended up killing himself, and here we are. Boom! Here's a solid like, oh man, they're gonna go places now, and they're done. And that's kind of what this is, because this lineup, like they put their all into this album.
The band died.
As my band's dying.
Yeah.
But everybody in this recorded album is on their A game.
Oh yeah, hands down.
And that's the unfortunate part. The title track actually is solid. Like the drumming is solid. Ryan's vocals are solid. And Ken Susi's guitar is solid. Even Tim Lambesis' vocals are, they're still a step up from the last album.
I feel like you're totally doing the line from Death Clock. The drums rocks. The guitars rocks.
I'm Dr. Rockstone. I do cocaine.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's a good album. Sorry guys, but yeah, listen to it at your own leisure. But it's solid.
Yeah, I mean, illegally download it because you don't want to give anybody money besides the other members of the band. But it's gonna be an interesting evolution for what's gonna have to happen with this band. Whether they finally just decide to call it quits, or because they have a festival show lined up for next year with only Tim. And like I talked about with Andrew last week, I don't want to see Tim come out in like the full like one man band get up where he's got like the drum and he's got a guitar in one hand and a double neck guitar and bass combo just hitting the big drum.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Tim come out like David Draymond from Disturbed used to, with like the prison suit on and the Hannibal Lecter mask.
I think that might be in bad taste, but I mean, look at my joke from beginning of the episode.
I have a feeling that's the only way he's getting on stage next year. Sorry. Okay, I'm done.
It's like a Tim Lambesis action figure, and the ankle monitor's included.
Right. Anyway, so good album from As They Lay Dying. On the other hand,
now, kids, we're going to talk about, again, irony. We're going to talk about... we're going to talk about Linkin Park's new album. It is something that needs to be discussed. And thank God we're talking about it with the mental health episode, because I'm going to need to reach out to some of these resources after this album.
You want to go first?
I'll go first, yeah! So, Linkin Park's new album, From Zero, came out. And it is currently, I think, number 2 on the rock charts. I don't know how and why, because it has the name Linkin Park on it.
Did you know that all 10 of the songs on Linkin Park's new album take up the entire top 10 of hard rock radio or hard rock Billboard right now? They hold all 10 spots.
I'm just saying that everybody can make mistakes. And so their new album is called From Zero. And for the hardcore Linkin Park fans who may or may not know this as a normal fan, the hardcore fans would know this. Linkin Park actually was originally supposed to be called Zero with an X. And
Xero.
From Zero is supposed to be Mike Shinoda saying that they're kind of restarting from nothing, basically. And kind of referencing that, there is this legacy of Linkin Park, but very much putting into the fact that this new version is the new Linkin Park. This is Linkin Park 2.0 in a way, from what I gather from his interview talking about reaching out to Emily and having her, because Emily apparently was supposed to be showing up for a show years ago.
No. You're looking at me like you're trying to get confirmation. I don't know.
You
No, yeah,
can't
it says
read.
2017. 2017. You're right. 2017. I read that.
Yes. So she's been kind of on their radar for a while, and I've never personally listened to the band that she came from before. But it was, I don't know, it's me personally, with ADHD, you look for connections and you look for trends and you look for rhythm. It just really seems like they've really been trying to keep Emily at arm's reach just in case they wanted to do this quote unquote Linkin Park 2.0 with somebody else. Which, I mean, they kind of have to if they want to continue the band. But this album is just... I had texted Frasier when we had originally talked about listening to these albums and doing the review. What I had told Frasier, I feel like most people can kind of agree on. This album feels very disjointed.
Yeah.
This album definitely feels like a band's first album where they're kind of, touching on every little thing that they can do to try and see what people stick to and don't stick to. So they know once they start going into a second album, they can say, well, this song didn't do well, and this is the elements included with this. This song did really well with these elements. So let's kind of, dive deeper into that. Cane Hill really did that between their first 3 albums and, went down their progressive sides and moving away from kind of their metalcore-ish sides. I feel like this is kind of what Linkin Park is trying to do, while also trying to please every era of fan. Because obviously we know Linkin Park has, kind of distinguished eras in their discography. I guess no 2 albums sound the same, but the first 2 are the same album. But since then, almost no album sounds exactly like the last album.
Right.
Especially once...
To sum up what Josh is saying, our exact quote was like, I give this album a 5 out of 10, and every song literally sounds like it was plucked off of a different album by Linkin Park.
Yes.
Two-Faced sounds exactly like it should have off the first album. Emptiness Machine directly off of Minutes to Midnight. A couple of the songs. The thing that disappointed me the most is a few of the songs sound more like they should have been on Minutes to Midnight or 1,000 Suns. Mm-hmm. And they only did like 1 or 2 songs that were heavier. And then like the one song, I can't remember what it's called right now because I didn't pay attention. But there's one song where he starts by saying, well, I hope you brought your screaming voice today. And it starts, I'm like, this is a Hunting Party song. This is straight off of the Hunting Party. It's the same production. It's the same raw guitar tone. It's the same raw drums. It is literally the Hunting Party.
Yeah, like, and even the final track on the album sounds like it could have been off of 1,000 Suns because it is more electronic and pulled back.
Yeah, it's like... And there's a couple of songs like that. I thought there wasn't a whole lot of energy on this album, which disappointed me. I hope that they push the energy more on the next one. I'm pretty sure they were trying to be a little bit more reserved for Emily's sake, maybe. But, yeah, And here's the other thing that bugs me. It used to be about Linkin Park, I feel like the whole band. Mm-hmm. Now it's all about... And this could just be the media spinning it, but I feel like every video, every poster, every interview, everything is about Emily and Mike.
I get that feeling a lot with this one.
Like, it's not about the band anymore. It's about these 2.
Well, I mean, to a degree, you're going to have that no matter what, because these are the 2 singers. They are the 2 songwriters. But right. I do agree, because when you had the original lineup for Linkin Park, everybody knew everybody in that band.
Right. Well, and yeah, like Chester and Mike, were big deals, right? And Chester was even bigger than Mike. But like when you looked at the poster or whatever, every band member, everybody knew who they were, what they were doing, why they were there. Everybody was on equal footing. It just happened to be that Chester was the singer and just the guy that people gravitated to. Mm-hmm. In this case, I feel like they're putting the spotlight on Mike and Emily.
Yeah, because, it's a lot of, like, Mike is bringing back Linkin Park, and now Emily is filling that void that Chester Bennington left. And, their drummer has bowed out of the band, and they have another drummer from...
Brad is only going to be studio.
Yeah, Brad's only going to be the studio one, and, I mean, their videos, like, they still encompass having everybody in it, but it's not... it goes along the same lines, like I said, like with it being Linkin Park 2.0. Like it definitely feels like it's a different band, and it feels like it has a different vibe within the band. And
It's
I don't
funny,
know.
this is the most. The funny thing is, this is the most I've seen out of Phoenix, aka or Dave, aka Phoenix. This is the most I've seen him in the spotlight lately too. Like,
Yeah, because he's never really been like front and center.
No, he's like literally right behind Mike now. Whenever like it's like Emily and Mike, and then there's Dave's always just right there, right behind him.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. I mean, it's a great Fort Minor album.
Yeah, I don't even think it's that. There's not enough rapping on it. Like it's an album. It is a Linkin Park album. It's just every Linkin Park album in 10 songs.
Yeah, like it's more of a retrospective on it. Like I don't think these are leftover tracks from any of those sessions, because they'd be doing a massive disservice trying to just pull old tracks that never got recorded or reused. But
that definitely sounds like they could be. Like it doesn't sound like they are. I agree. I think they're new, but it definitely sounds like all of them could be from.
They're trying to encompass everything because they've been gone for so long, and it's such a touchy subject of trying to bring Linkin Park back without Chester, not even having the option of bringing him back without Chester. But it just feels like they're just trying to cater to everybody, just to try to pull in as many different fans from any different eras of their entire history, to being like, hey, it's still your friend Linkin Park, it's still your friend, even though now your friend is celebrating Thanksgiving alone in the bar because he's in his 40s and not married.
Right.
But he's like, I'm still me kind of thing, in my opinion. I mean, it is a solid rock album. It is a solid rock album that most of those songs are forgettable, in my opinion. There's only a couple of, like, Heavy as the Crown is probably the only song that really stuck out for me, but more in a negative way because they try to outdo Chester's like 17-second scream.
Right.
And like I said, I don't know. It's a good rock album. It's not, in my opinion, a great Linkin Park album.
Right. So.
It sucks. Don't listen to it.
With that, we are going to wrap up the podcast for today. Thank you for being patient with us as we get our schedules back on track. We will be on Spotify and YouTube. I have been Frasier.
And I will probably always be Josh until somebody pays me otherwise.
Okay. And with that, we will catch you later.
Have a great day.